Hello, I'm TychoCelchuuu, and you're listening to my first Men of War shoutcast/vidcast. This is a game I recorded earlier, and you notice someone talking to me on Steam, but we'll ignore that. I'm mostly going to go over the basics of Men of War, because this is mostly for people who haven't learned a lot about the game. Maybe you're new to the game, maybe you don't even own the game, and you kind of want to see what Men of War is like. What this is a multiplayer game. I think it's a 3v3, and what I'm doing right here now, it's a 4v4 it looks like. What I'm doing right here, I bought a squad of riflemen, and I'm spreading them out. These, where I'm sending the riflemen to, they're battle zones. We're playing the battle zones game mode, where you have to cap these different sections of the map, and as you own the majority of them, your points start ticking up. You can see the points in the upper right, where the A-team army, and then there's the B-team army. Yeah, we're playing as the Russians, and I think we're fighting Germans here. I just bought a AT gun. You saw me reposition it if you didn't. Right, those riflemen right now, I'm ordering them to fire on the enemy riflemen who are moving in on the point. I only have 2 riflemen, but you see my allies sending some guys to the left. My rifleman getting shot, but look, he throws a grenade and kaboom! Doesn't do anything. Oh, and then he gets blown apart by that Puma over on the right. So right now I'm worried about that Puma, I think. I'm trying to recreate what I did in-game because this is after the fact. So there's that AT gun I bought. It's a ZIS-2. I'm a pretty big fan of the Russian AT gun, the ZIS-2. Not as good as the US AT gun, and actually the PaK-40 might be better too. But it's pretty nice, and it's certainly going to help against this Puma. I'm selecting my rifleman. Right now I'm direct controlling my rifleman. I ordered him to throw a grenade there because I knew there were some bad people there. And by knew, I mean guessed, and it looks like I was wrong. And then he throws a grenade at me. And I got those guys to go prone. I hit spacebar because the Puma was firing at them. So things are pretty crazy, if you've noticed. The game just started, and already I've got a bunch of stuff to talk about. But as this is all going on, everything you're watching, on the right, I've also got an ally or two, and they're fighting over those points on the right. So you can certainly get some pretty big games. This is not even as big as it gets. I've played 6v6 before. It looks like the Puma just got blown apart by a... Can't really read the text. A BA something. I'm pretty sure there was a friendly armored car on the far left, but you notice I'm not busy trying to find out. I just bought a submachine gunner squad. I think the general consensus is that submachine gunners... This is over on the right. Just looking at what my ally's doing, just for kicks. General consensus is that submachine gunners are much better than riflemen. Riflemen have better range and better accuracy and everything, but just because the rifles back then are bolt action, so they just fire so slowly that you're almost better off with machine guns. You can just shoot at them, especially for the Russians who get the Papushka machine gun, 71 shots in the gun. That thing just fires forever. So most people just overwhelm their opponent with submachine gunners instead of using riflemen. But I pretty much like riflemen. You see my submachine gunners just own that guy. But I'm kind of a big fan of riflemen. I like their long range, and they also have defenses. That guy threw a grenade on his own. One of the cool things about the AI is that if there's someone they're trying to kill and they're behind cover, sometimes they'll throw a grenade. I can't quite figure out what makes them decide to throw a grenade, but sometimes they'll do it on their own. So I'm buying another AT gun because my biggest problem is always vehicles attacking me, tanks and light vehicles. You saw Panzer IV just owned everybody on the left, which is what I'm worried about. But my biggest thing is always trying to fight off their vehicles, and I'm usually an infantry AT gun kind of guy, not huge on the tanks. But there are 1,000 different ways to play. Some people go much heavier on the tanks. Some people just buy light vehicles. Light vehicles are a very popular strategy in the very beginning. Often someone will drive like a Puma or an armored car up and just try and shoot people. I don't like that because you can't really cap a point with a Puma. You can only cap with infantry. So I like sending infantry and trying to get the point. Half the time I just get mowed down by an armored car, but the other half I kill everything. So not even kill everything. Half the time I capture the point. So now I'm trying to set up my AT gun to shoot this Panzer IV, but I'm realizing that there's a hill in the way. I'm in direct control mode now, and you see that little blue icon? That shows me where I'm aiming. And I notice this Puma on the left is just wrecking everybody. So I tell my AT gun to reposition. See, that Puma might have even killed that tank. I think it killed that light vehicle. So I'm repositioning my AT gun. Yeah, now it kills that light vehicle. That Puma is just playing havoc with everything. And fortunately I can't see the Puma right now. Or I guess I can. It's on the map again. Oh, and my AT gun is repositioned, but the Puma has moved, so I have to reposition again. And again. Unfortunately, he moves a bit to the wrong way because of where I told him. So I go into direct control to manually move him around. And this is not happening, and luckily enough, he drove right past my submachine gunners, and one of them threw an AT grenade of his own volition and killed the Puma. So I hear a lot of people complain about the AI, and I can sort of understand that. Sometimes the pathfinding's not good, but in my opinion, the AI is just fantastic. I mean, twice already they've thrown grenades and saved me without having been asked to. So now we have a Panzer IV shooting at my men. They're dead. I told that guy to throw a smoke grenade, but it was too late. So I'm just going to peck at it with my AT gun, and without even telling the AT gun to fire, it takes a shot, and boom, hull crushed on the Panzer IV. Oh, and look, they threw a grenade without me even asking right into that house, and kaboom! I think that guy was already dead. No, he wasn't. Those 4 people standing in front of the Panzer IV might be the crew. When you destroy a tank, there are all sorts of parts of vehicles that you can destroy. They don't have hit points or anything. They don't have health bars. What they do is they have individual parts and they have armor plating. Someone just left, so that's kind of when the game goes downhill. But you can damage the treads of a vehicle, and if you knock out a track, it can't move. You can damage the turret, so the turret can't turn. You can damage the gun, so the gun can't fire. You can damage the hull, so that the crew inside gets killed, and if the hull's dead, it's not going anywhere. And you can damage the engine, knock out the engine, or even set it on fire so the thing eventually explodes. But in this case, I knocked out the hull. I don't think I killed any of the crew, and so the crew just got out and stood in front of the Panzer IV. You saw I chucked a grenade right there to try and get him. Didn't quite go far enough, so now I'm direct controlling with a Molotov cocktail. Hopefully the fire from this Molotov will get them, but no, I get whammoed by a Panzer IV before I can even do anything. So that's one of the cool things about Men of War, the incredibly detailed damage system. It calculates, for every shot, it calculates the angle of the armor, the thickness of the armor, the speed of the shell that's firing, of course the size of the shell. The ZIS-2 fires a heck of a shell, and that's the second Panzer IV it's managed to take out, you saw there. And so I'm pretty happy right now that the Germans are just, the heaviest thing they're throwing at me is Panzer IVs. But he gets a lucky shot with his Puma, knocks out my ZIS-2, so I think I decide to replace it. What do I do? Right now I'm trying to figure out what the heck I'm doing about this Puma. I'm looking at the tanks, seeing what my options are. You see they give you the stats on the tanks, and it looks like I buy a tank. Because I'm tired of getting shot by Pumas. Certainly the tank is much more resilient versus Pumas than armored cars. And so this AT gun that I've used to cover the middle, you'll notice the middle, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, now I'm on the right. But the middle's been green the entire time. We've capped the middle. I sent 2 riflemen there at the very beginning, and no one ever bothered me. That's one of the things. A lot of people who play Men of War, like a lot of people who play any video game, suck, and they just never think about attacking the middle. Boom! There goes my T-34 owning that Puma, so I destroyed the Puma. Of course, it can be repaired. Every vehicle in the game can be repaired. If you knock out the tread or something, they can repair the tread. Although, it's, oof, he just got AT grenade. I think someone actually laid some TNT on the ground that he backed over. We'll talk about that later. But unless you damage a vehicle really bad, they can generally be repaired. So you saw my submachine gunners right there, those 2 guys sprinting to the left, behind the cover of the tank. They did not fire at the enemies. They just sprinted to that tank. If you double right click or double left click, whatever, depending on what you set your controls to, when you double click to tell someone to move, they start sprinting. They ignore enemies and they just sprint to wherever the heck you tell them. And the other option is just well, let me talk about tank crew. I just bought a couple of tank crewmen and sent them over to that Panzer IV on the left. That's because that can be repaired. So I'm going to repair and recrew that Panzer IV and use it for my own nefarious purposes. But yeah, if you tell them to sprint, they're going to ignore everybody and just dash to wherever you tell them. But if you tell them to move, what they'll do is, if they see someone as they're walking to their destination, they'll pretty much stop and fire back, is generally what happens. And I used to almost always use sprint just because I want to get there faster and I didn't want my people wasting all their time shooting at people on their way to their destination. But lately I've pretty much only been using normal move because sprint, since people ignore enemies when they're sprinting, it just gets really dangerous. You can get everyone mowed down. And that was my T-34. I rather sillily used direct control to attack that Panzer IV. I guess I'll talk more about direct control later for people who don't know what it is. But I used direct control to fire at that Panzer IV. I missed, and I got paid back for it because Panzer IV penetrated me from the front. That's one of the cheap T-34s, so it's kind of understandable that the Panzer IV penetrated. But